Honorable Minister of Justice, could you please clarify why the justice workers have not yet received their national decree? A debt calculation outlining outstanding amounts owed to the specific justice workers, updated compensation based on the revised function book, and I would like to know what are the factors contributing to the delay and where specifically are the bottlenecks in this process? When, and I'm referring to a specific date, can the justice workers expect to receive their documents as mentioned before? Also, I would like to know when the first phase, as mentioned in your press release of February 21st, will be finalized, also a specific date. Also, question number 4, the subsequent phases handling the retroactive payments between 10-10-10 and the 31st of December 2022. When will that be finalized? And I'm again referring to a specific date. And then also wondering in the interim, what short-term solutions are being considered to address the needs of the justice workers until the payment can commence. And this is to avoid any go slow or work to rule actions. Once the justice workers receive those documents, could you also outline the step-by-step process with time frame for the payout to occur? And then also would like to know if it's accurate that currently the ministry lacks sufficient manpower to draft the LBs, and would it maybe be feasible for each department in the Justice Ministry to contribute with personnel to speed up this process?
The initial batches of national decrees prepared and submitted for approval in January 2023 were returned by the Ministry of Finance with comments. These comments specifically requested that each individual advice include comprehensive financial details for each and every staff national decree in the file, including benefited allowances such as on-call availability and overtime, and covering the entire retroactive scope of that employee. This requirement extends beyond the scope of the received LBAs or the LBAs that we had initially sent, which pertains to the placement as of January 1st, 2023, and includes retroactive corrections for the period prior to that date. The LBAs currently undergoing preparation for ratification aims to prevent further development of financial debt. So we are seeking to stop the bleed, so to speak. A phased approach combined with the newly enacted function book ensures that smooth placement of active staff. Moving on to question B. After completing phase 1, phase 2 will commence immediately, focusing on the retroactive aspect for employees. During this phase, each individual staff member will have the opportunity to receive a breakdown of their retroactive history. Question C. An employee's salary can only be rectified with their national decree. Yes, the national decree we are seeking to have signed now is necessary in order to be able to recognize that rectified salary. However, the overtime and their on-call compensation will be recognized in this coming March 2024 payroll. As indicated in the initial batches of national decrees submitted, these were returned by the Ministry of Finance with comments that each individual advice must be supported with the full financial picture per staff, per LBA, that is included in the batch file. This not only is limited to the scope of the received LBA, which is the placement as per January 1st, 2023, but the retroactive placement of the individual to which is not to be captured in this phase. This additional requirement imposed by the Ministry of Finance has slowed the trajectory of the process. However, we have now remedied this matter with the necessary additional documents per national decree presented, noting that a resubmitted batch has now successfully reached the final approval step and is currently being reviewed by His Excellency the Governor. This will be followed by the weekly batches of 25 national decrees to be processed. As a matter of fact, a batch of 25 was presented to the Ministry of Finance this past Friday. When it comes to the staff receiving the national decree, the respective staff member will be contacted to receive same once the Governor and my person as Minister of Justice have co-signed those national decrees. Currently, there's a batch of national decrees at the governor's office, as I just so mentioned. As it relates to the function book and the legal position of persons with police tasks, this document is a public document and can be found in the announcements of Government St. Martin. So the police, so to speak, the police law in English, or the Rexpositie, is available online, and anyone that is seeking to be able to review it can access it. Phase 1, or answering question number 3, Phase 1, which entails the placement of all active staff per January 1, 2023, is expected to be completed by the end of the second quarter 2024. Question 4, Phase 2 is expected to commence directly after Phase 1 is completed. Number 5, the legal position is established, and the expeditious is the focus. The expedition of this is the focus right now. The ministry has secured some additional assistance, but more is needed and is being sought to help further expedite the process. And that help has come so far from the Department of SXM and Customs, thanks to both departments. As agreed upon in the CCSU platform, I'm answering number 6 now, the rectification of salaries, retroactive payments, etc. will happen in phases. Please see the screen for the breakdown. Yes, when it comes to number 7, the ministry is currently understaffed. However, to assist with the drafting of the national decrees, individuals must possess some knowledge and experience in human resources, as well as an understanding in data protection and privacy protection. Unfortunately, it won't be feasible, as some departments within the ministry does not have HR staff or individuals responsible for such matters. We have, however, addressed this shortage by adding those HR qualified personnel within specific departments, namely KPSM and Customs, to join the team and support the handling of these files. Number 8A, Prison and Customs Function Book are in effect. 8B, I am pleased to inform you that all employees within the Customs Department have received their year-end evaluation for the year of 2023. It is essential for us to ensure that this assessment process is conducted diligently to recognize the hard work and dedication of our team members. I acknowledge that some employees have lodged appeals or challenges regarding the outcome of their evaluation. I want to assure you that these appeals have been duly noted and are currently awaiting review. It is imperative for us to guarantee the integrity and fairness of the evaluation process. And therefore, before any final decisions are made, each appeal will be thoroughly reviewed to verify that the correct procedures were followed. Please be advised that we are committed to conducting a comprehensive and transparent evaluation process to address any concerns raised by our valued customs officers. It is our priority to uphold high standards in professionalism and accountability within the department. 8C, with the function book in effect and placement well underway, staffing requirements are identified for vacancies to be posted and recruitment to start. 8D, customs officers possess dual authority, holding not only customs jurisdiction, but also acting as extraordinary police officers. The identification cards designated them as extraordinary police officers can be obtained through the police department. In response to the identification concerns, the Customs Department is starting the process of determining the specific form of identification that will be used for customs officers. Our plan will include the production and distribution of these identification cards to ensure a streamlined and efficient process. I assure you that we are aware that it is a legal requirement and will work on resolving this issue to enhance the clarity and visibility of customs officers' identification. Our goal is to strengthen operational processes and provide a secure and transparent environment for both officers and stakeholders. 8E, the legal position or Rexpositie. Updates for customs and Have Bay are currently being worked on with the unions. Several meetings were planned to jointly conclude this process. Vital input from the unions is awaited at this time. A date for completion is not yet available. 8F, the Customs of St. Martin is determined to restore its K9 force and is accompanying handlers to full capacity. aligning with guidelines set forth in the function book. Following the regrettable loss of 2 K9 officers, proactive measures are being taken to rebuild the force. The Customs of St. Martin is committed to rebuilding its K9 forces and handlers, signaling a proactive approach to maintaining security and enforcement. Might I add, these K9 officers are tagged at a price tag somewhere around 10,000 euros per K9. So the handling, management, and caretaking of these K9 officers must be properly assessed to know for their safety and well-keeping. Drawing from past experience, there's a clear acknowledgement of the necessity for redundancy and a viable replacement strategy. These measures ensure operational continuity and readiness for unforeseen events. There is an active effort to forge alliances with customs organizations within the kingdom. This endeavor aims to facilitate collaboration in acquisition, training, and development of K9 units, ultimately enhancing efficiency and effectiveness through shared resources and expertise. Meanwhile, former K9 handlers with the customs ranks have been reassigned to operational roles within the organization. This ensures that their skills and expertise continue to be effectively utilized while efforts to rebuild the K9 force are underway. It is important to highlight that although the ministry had 200 national decrees prepared in connection with the phases, one of the placement processes, the LBHAM and enactment decrees, or LB, didn't come into immediate effect after the signing on December 27, 2023. This delay is standard procedure as the Ombudsman is granted a six-week window period to review them and raise any objections against the legislation. However, in this instance, as no objections were lodged, the LBHAM went into effect on February 8, 2024. The LBAs regarding the retroactive payment correction are not being presented in the attached advice, nor does the current LBA give financial claim to the retroactive impact of those corrections to be handled in the next phase. Further, the national decrees of this first phase are not subjected to payment disbursement plan and will be released in one payment for those decrees to which payment is applicable. The national decrees regarding the retroactive period between 10/10/10 and the 31st of December 2022 shall be handled according to the agreed upon disbursement plan, which the subsequent annual release payments, and I'm referring to the disbursement plan that was signed within the CCSU union platform.
At RBC, we know the roles you have to play can change quickly. Whether it's a homeowner, a new parent, today's head chef, salesperson of the month, or the family chauffeur. Whatever life asks you to be, RBC is a bank for all of you.
Social and health insurances. Your social and health insurances.
Are you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SZV, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
So my presentation is entitled Cultural Practices, Climate Change and Education on the SSS ABC Islands, a multidisciplinary approach. So for context, as a cultural anthropologist, one of my focal points is actually doing research on culture and traditions. So looking at culture and looking at what culture means in our different societies. So of course you can look at cultures from different perspectives. And as was already presented this evening, often and historically we have always seen culture presented from a particular point of view. And perhaps maybe not from the point of the locals themselves, or people who actually perform these cultures or these traditions. So this this research actually focuses a bit on a sort of a multidisciplinary approach related to climate change. So when we talk about climate challenges, as already has been presented, we're talking about, for example, aspects such as coastal erosions, rising sea levels, extreme heat, drought, of course, frequency of hurricanes, and also the impact of hurricanes, flooding, excessive tourism, and the like. So what you see here, that you have one aspect, of course, is, let's say, primarily or directly related to climate change, but also you also have a secondary or aspects that are indirectly related, but they're all connected. So, of course, one of the challenges, especially on the ABC Islands, is the fact of us experiencing extreme heat. So in September of last year, the schools in Curaçao actually had to close a bit earlier because of the extreme weather. And when you talk about the effects of climate change, you see that, for example, it's not only, okay, because it's hot, but you also have the effects of, for example, the quality of life, but also indirectly also related to education, the quality of education. But even if you think a bit further, you can also ask yourself, okay, when you talk about climate change and the aspects of rising temperatures, what does it actually mean for our cultural traditions? Take, for example, Carnival. So I don't know who, of course, some of you participate in Carnival or go to Carnival. So as you know, we just had our Carnival on the ABC Islands. And one of the experiences, of course, or the reactions was, boy, it's so hot. I don't know if anyone was there, toevallig. Boy, it's very hot. So for the participants and those on the side. So what does that mean actually in the next 50 years, in the next 100 years, in the next 200 years, 300 years, when we're not here anymore? Do we still celebrate Carnival the way we do? The things that we find important to us? Or how do we adapt to that? And this morning we were at MPC and we asked the students that same question. And they said, well, we will have to then have Juve. That is what Harald is talking about. We adapt to the situation, or we'll have what we have, let's say the lighting parade or carnivals in the night, or maybe you can have a carnival indoor. So these are some of the things that we actually think about when we look at the effects of, let's say, climate challenges and how that is related to our cultural traditions. Oftentimes, we wouldn't even think about some of these things. So, the perspectives on climate challenges in our islands, of course, particularly if you ask the academic class or the scientific class, they would say that the people themselves have limited knowledge regarding the topic. It would seem so on the surface. So when we talk about, for example, the Sustainable Development Goals, let's say the different campaigns that the organizations, the NGOs try to organize to be able to bring about a consciousness about these themes, often you would hear these people are not interested or they know very little of the topic. But if you look at it from a different perspective, you'll notice that the community themselves also have their own perspective. So as an anthropologist, of course, one of our tasks is to actually engage with the community and see from different perspectives to see how people themselves engage with these themes. And when you ask that group of people, often you would hear them say, climate change debate is very technical. You hear it, okay, these are mostly scientists that talk about climate change. The jargon is not the jargon of everyday language. It's only focused on renewable energy, windmills, solar panels, electric cars, and so forth. I don't know if you've ever heard this one. It's a political stunt. This is the Illuminati who want to push their agenda. Western models imposed on Caribbean societies, and also even very judgmental, let's say the environmentalists on the traditional ways that we eat. Yeah, everyone wants to become a vegan or a vegetarian, no offense. But criticizing the traditional foods such as the silts, the pig ear, and so forth. So these are some of the things that you hear in the community.
SXM, your social and health insurance. SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, your social and health insurances.
At RBC, we know the roles you have to play can change quickly. Whether it's a homeowner, a new parent, today's head chef, salesperson of the month, or the family chauffeur. Whatever life asks you to be, RBC is a bank for all of you.
First and foremost, of course, there's a legal and administrative challenge at the first level. The fact that French is the official language and most, if not all, of the documentation is in the French language. That's one of the first aspect, but we cannot limit ourselves at that. English being or St. Martin English being our mother tongue. Many efforts have already been made in the past in terms of having the real bilingual aspect being brought forward, in terms of having the documents also be with the French and the English language. So it is, I would say, an effort that the local government must insist upon. And it is a costly process, but we need to go there because no citizen should be or should feel excluded of, I would say, the legal system or of all that exists in the territory because of the language barrier. And we cannot in St. Martin live the language situation as a handicap. It must be an asset, and in order for that to be an asset, we need to make sure that the documentations are bilingual, and even that the language, the mother tongue, the English, be spoken in all of our administration. So I do not view it as being a challenge as much as a political will to continue and to intensify, let's say, that making that what we are living a reality also in the administrative world. So, as I've said, efforts have already been made. And I know in terms of the educational system, the president and the local government have made a lot of have done a lot of work, a certain amount of visits to certain territory where bilingualism is the reality, to see what exists as the best practices that we can apply locally. So, as I said, it is a matter of political will and of financial means put to making that political will a reality. You see, St. Martin is so, and the St. Martin people is so welcoming, and sometimes we are so kind that we have that ability, and it's not always a handicap or défaut, as we say in French, of when we are speaking, wanting to make sure the person to whom we are expressing ourselves understands. So if it takes that we use their language to speak, we can do it. But it tells of a certain intellectual capacity, yeah, because every people all over the world can't do that. Let's face it. We have that ability and we use it. But also, it's a fact that certain people abuse of it in terms of people of different communities who live here, where they do make the effort because we adapt ourselves and answer them in their language, that they do make the effort and see it necessary that they adapt the reality of our territory in terms of language to express themselves, and that is a reality that needs to stop. Now that we stop being able to use that capacity of using many languages. But in a nutshell, you see what happened over the years. This land have been a land of immigration, where you have people come from all over the world, and in a short span of time. And the various communities live within themselves. And the impact was that nearly they get you to water down the weight of the St. Martin culture, the weight of the St. Martin people in terms of numbers as well. So the mechanism of St. Martinizing those who come to our territory was weakened. But you always realize, even though a language or culture could be weakened, it never dies. And today, the process that we need to be involved in making sure it produces effect, if this is the St. Martinization of those communities and those people who live on the island. And it does be sometimes sad that we are at the second, sometimes the third generation of people from certain areas of the world. And even though the kids, when they with local St. Martin people, they will speak the English and so on, but when they are in their family setting, they would go back to their parents' language. And that process, it's going to take a while, but we need to also assert and to be firm and not to be shy to use our St. Martin language and to speak to them in the St. Martin English, so that they understand that we are asking them, we need them to make that effort to adapt the St. Martin reality. Because end of the day, where they living, where they being fed, in St. Martin, if you like the country, you're living in the country and you're contributing in the country, all that makes someone a St. Martin, you need to adapt it to be part of you as well.